Hi there, welcome to my channel, crewvn.com.
So, let's talk about the structural elements of the double bottom in the transverse system. First up, we have the solid floor, or ngang jak. This is basically the solid part of the floor structure, and it's usually placed at the bottom of the hull to provide strength. Next, there's the bracket floor, also known as ngang bokeh. This type of floor acts as a supportive element that helps distribute weight across the vessel. And finally, we've got the open floor, or ngang koilo. This type of floor might have openings, allowing for drainage or better weight distribution throughout the ship. Alright, so the skeleton floor, or ngang ganshuong, is basically the floor that provides the basic framework for the ship. It usually consists of ribs or beams, forming the structure that supports everything above. Next up is the center grider, or songchin. This is a main beam that runs right along the center of the ship, giving it major support and, honestly, holding everything together down the middle. And then, we have the side grider, or songpu. These are the secondary beams running along the sides of the ship, and they offer additional support, just making sure the whole structure stays strong and stable. So, the margin plate, or songhong, refers to the plates along the edge of the vessel that provide lateral strength. These plates are pretty important because they help reinforce the sides of the ship, making sure the structure stays sturdy, especially when the vessel is under stress. Next, we have the center strake, or daiton doklam j tren. This is basically a strip of metal or other material that runs vertically along the center of the ship for added support. The center strake helps distribute the load and keeps the hull strong, especially in rough conditions. And then, there's the reverse frame, also called dam ngang dai tren. These are frame parts used to maintain the hull's shape and structure, providing support across the width of the vessel. Reverse frames are essential because they help the ship resist deformation and keep everything in place, even when facing heavy seas. The main frame, or dam ngang dai duoi, is basically the central structural frame of the vessel. It's the part that holds the major weight-bearing elements together, making sure everything stays strong and stable. The keel, which we call daiton gua dai, is kind of like the backbone of the ship. It runs along the very bottom and provides the structural integrity needed for the entire vessel. An A-trake, or daiton, ake daiton songchin, is a metal strip or frame that supports the central keel structure. It's a small but really important detail in shipbuilding. Alright, so, bottom plating, or tonjai, is basically the plating that forms the bottom of the hull. Next up, we've got the bilge strake, also called daiton hong. This is a strake that runs along the bilge to provide some extra support in the lower hull. And then, there's the bilge keel, or vaijiam lak. It's a keel that helps reduce rolling or motion in the water, making the ship more stable. So, the tank side bracket, or man hong, is basically a bracket that's attached to the sides of the tank, and it's used for structural reinforcement. It's, an important part for adding extra strength to the tank sides. Next up, we have the gusset plate, or tamop. These are plates that are used to reinforce the structural connections, making sure everything stays, securely in place and can handle the stresses of operation. And then there's the gusset angle, which we call tam gok. This is a corner reinforcement for the hull structure, and it's really crucial for maintaining the integrity of the hull, especially at the joints. So, hold frame, or swan kwang, refers to the frames that provide support for the cargo hold area. These are, really essential for maintaining the structure and integrity of the hold itself. Next up, we have the hold pillar, or kot chong kwang. These are the vertical pillars that help support the cargo hold. Basically, they add extra strength to keep everything steady and safe. And then, there's the double plate, or tam dem, sometimes called tam kep. These are plates used in double layers for increased strength and durability, making sure the ship can handle more stress over time. The bottom ceiling, or as we say in Vietnamese, van lot san. These are the panels used to cover the lower section of the ship's interior. You'll often find them in the hold, doing their job to keep everything in place. Now, let's talk about the air hole, or lo thong ki. These are the ventilation holes in the structure that allow for airflow. They're quite essential, for maintaining a good environment inside the ship. And finally, we have the manhole, or longoi chui. These are the access holes that are crucial for maintenance or inspection. They ensure that we can get to those hard-to-reach places when needed. Okay, so, a limber hole, or lo thoat nuoc in Vietnamese, is basically a hole designed for water drainage. It's often part of the bilge system, helping to keep the ship dry by allowing water to flow through and be pumped out. Now, let's talk about the vertical stiffener, or nepdock. This is a vertical reinforcement that's added to strengthen the ship's structure, making sure everything stays solid and secure. And finally, the vertical bar, which we call ĐÓNG. It's a bar used specifically for vertical structural reinforcement, giving extra support to the ship's framework. So, a strut, or thanchong, is basically a support bar that, helps strengthen the hull or other structural elements of the ship. The center bracket, or ma jia kwang song chin, refers to reinforcing plates or brackets that are placed in the central part of the hull. These components are, pretty essential for strengthening the core structure of the ship. The bracket to margin plate, also called mangjia kwang song hong, consists of brackets that give extra support between the hull's margin plate and other structural elements. This design really helps distribute loads more effectively across the ship's frame. A lightning hole, or lo koet gyam trong luong, is basically a hole cut into structural elements to reduce weight without compromising the overall strength. It's a clever way to make the ship lighter while still keeping it strong and reliable. The diagram shows the interconnected support beams and plates that form the internal structure of the ship, including the keel, frames, and floor plates. This assembly provides the strength necessary to support both the hull and the ship's cargo areas. The use of stiffeners, gusset plates and reinforcement bars helps prevent the ship from flexing or warping under stress, ensuring that the vessel remains durable and safe during its operation.